Hello everybody, and welcome back to JoJOverdrive. Today we will be discussing part 3 of our JoJolion retrospective, and we'll be going from Milagro Man to the end of Dr. Wu and everything in between. This is the part of the story where, like, we finally have solved all of the mystery elements, essentially, and now we're getting into just defeating the bad guys.
And now JoJolion turns to garbage.
Yeah, we hate JoJolion. It is the worst of
except for all of the battles that are really, really good, aka
and
all of the battles
that are really, really good, as in like almost all of them. Speaking of really good parts, Milagro Man is a very fun filler like arc. I believe it's like literally 2 chapters long.
Yeah, it's good to have kind of like a pace breaker after Killer Queen.
Yeah, after having such a major battle like that, intense too. We learn all the backstory and everything.
And we get back to everyone's favorite character, Joshu.
We get Joshu, yes. We get a good laid back section with Joshu. Reminds me a lot of like first half of part 4. Those kind of fights, like This is the second of this part, the second stand without a user, I believe. That's not very common in this series, but having 2 in the same. If I had a nickel for every time there was a stand in JoJolion without a user, I'd have 2 nickels. Technically 3 if you count Wonder of You at the very end, but that's weird. So,
yeah.
What is Araki thinking with this? But anyways, Milagro Man is the only time where Joshu is like actually like good. Basically,
yeah,
where he's like not the worst as like a person. I think, of course, the intent for the character was for you to not like him. I believe that's the point. But he's the least creepy in this part, and even at the very he gets like even like a cool moment at the end or whatever. He gets to do his own pose or whatever, and he gets to be like, I had already put on a screw onto the bottle or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, and and
that was the last time he was cool ever.
Yeah, and then you get this part at the end where it's like where you get like some semblance of character where he has like this little monologue about like who he has to like live up to or whatever, or something like that. It's something like that. It's a semblance of humanity. It's like, I can see Joshu going through some sort of interesting character arc after this. And then the arc after this, he starts stripping his own mother. Like immediately upon seeing her. That's like the first, and then that's.
I believe that's actually at the very start of Blue Lagoon.
You know, that's like right after Milagro Man. Literally goes from that to Caato gets released from jail.
Mm-hmm.
Caato as a whole, though, very good introduction, I think.
Yeah.
We get teased at the very beginning because like you see she's at the prison and she has a freaking stone. It says Stone Ocean on her jumpsuit. Yeah, which is crazy. We just get, part 6 name dropped randomly in the middle of part 8. It's clearly just like, haha, she's in a prison and Stone Ocean had a prison, so that's
no, it's actually integral to the future of the series.
Yes, we'll need to know what if Araki's just lying to us about the plot of part 9 and they're actually just going back to Stone Ocean again. And going
exactly, and it's gonna be like the Ava rebuilds where they know that something. It's like the repeating the cycle over and over.
Exactly. Yes. Brilliant, Araki. You really baited us out this time. No, but
what do you think of the design of Milagro Man?
The design of Milagro Man is very cool. For seeing it for one panel, it is a very. I'm glad that he had a design period because he could have just not. He could have just said like, oh, it was once the ability of an arms dealer or whatever, and he didn't have to show any visual for the stand. But the fact that he did show it, it's cool. It's very fun with the hollowed out face or whatever. That's like, I don't think any other stand has had something like that before. It's very fun. this arc as a whole also kind of like fits into the theme of like curses or whatever throughout JoJolion, because the ability itself is all it is just like a curse where you get infinite money or whatever, but like you can't use it on anything. So he maybe Milagro Man was the calamity all along. It all connects.
Calamity along the way.
Yes, maybe the real Toru was the Milagro Man we made along the way. Maybe that's the lesson we learned. So I like how the conclusion of this is just the guy gets stuck back with the money and we never see him again. It sucks to be that
I
one
like to
guy.
imagine that we return to him later and there's just like an entire like trash island off the coast of Japan.
Yeah.
Like Isle of Dogs where it's all Milagro Man money.
Yeah, it's just a island of pure money. Maybe that's what the JoJo lands are. It's an island of pure money. Oh my god, yes. That's how he comes into great wealth, as he gets Milagro Man.
No, he was the original Milagro Man, and that's why we never see his face.
Bravo, Araki. Wow, I can't believe the lengths that this guy will go to write ahead of time his stories. Funny moment is that Joshu watches, quote, 3D Johnny Depp pirate movie.
Yes, classic. And buys all the seats.
Buys all of the seats, which absolute Sigma move, by the way. And I believe this was the movie is on Stranger Tides. I believe
it is on Stranger Tides. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's 2011.
Yeah. Let's see. When did At World's End come out? It's not too relevant, but I just want to think about that. And it was 2007. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it would have been on Stranger Tides. Okay.
Also, that movie was a major 3D thing.
Yeah, they advertised it. Like back then, 3D.
Araki loves his movies.
He should have made Joshi watch Avatar. That's what he should have.
Yes.
That's what he should have done. Yes.
Even though it would have been 2 years later, but yes.
Shut up.
This is a little aside, but it's hilarious that on Araki's like top 10 thriller / horror movies, Shrek is on there at like number 3. So I don't know what he was thinking with that. But.
It's body horror because like Fiona, yeah, he transforms into a human or whatever. It's horrifying. I'm just saying he could have fudged the timeline a bit to make it so that Avatar was out earlier. If the version of the song of Wonder of You that Toru listens to on his like MP3 player or whatever, the version that he's listening to hadn't come out yet or whatever. It had that specific orchestral like rendition hadn't, because you can tell because of the cover art, it hadn't been released, and back in 2011, which this takes. Does this? I don't think they ever say, but does this cross over into 2012? Like, does it?
I think it's kind of sketchy, but either way, the Wonder of You compilation album did not release until October 21st, 2016. So
even if
there is no
3 years had passed, there was absolutely no way.
He most likely looked up Wonder of You cover art, or what probably happened, I think, is he bought that compilation in 2016, and he was like, oh, this is a great idea for my final stand name, or whatever. Obviously, I think he knew the songs before, but I think that like kind of reminded him about it. If he
changed Born This Way on the fly, then I don't think necessarily he knew the names by the end.
I mean, he seems like a decently big Elvis fan, since we had Jailhouse Lock before.
That's and Blue Hawaii, which
is literally about to.
We'll talk about soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's wild how at the beginning of when the part was started being written, the Wonder of You, that specific version hadn't even existed yet in real life. It was not a thing yet. Very good. And by the end, it was a thing because it took a decade to get there. Which that's kind of compared to every other part, having JoJolion take place in real life over the longest amount of time gives like it gives a really weird perspective, because it's weird to think how like parts like 1 to 5 like came out like moderately quickly,
relatively quick. 15 years for like the first 5 parts.
Yeah, exactly. And
1986 to 2000, part 6 started in 2000, I believe, or 2001. Either way, you were in part 6 by 2001. So
Yeah, JoJolion consists of like a third of the entire like runtime.
It is also the longest part by far.
It is the longest part. No, I'm saying like in universe, it's not. It doesn't take the.
I know.
Actually, it might. No. It's JoJolion's one of the harder
part
parts.
3, I think, takes the longest.
That's 50 days. But
actually, part 6 takes the longest because it goes into the heat death of the universe.
Oh yeah, sorry, my
twice.
yeah. Sorry about that. That's my.
Oh, actually, no, wrong. Part 1. Part 1 is the longest. Because it starts when they're kids.
Assuming you're not counting the heat death of the universe, yes.
Yes.
It starts out, and then there's like a years long gap in between. So yeah,
or technically, if you include, because on the final pages of part 6, it's Joseph going to the airport in Japan.
Oh yeah, in part.
So technically, if you count that teaser at the end, that is in the manga during the part 2 section. So
yeah, it's during battle. It's weird that he put like a post-credit scene in his manga, basically.
Yeah. Because then it makes it in the anime they have basically 2 post-credit scenes.
Yeah. Seeing part 2, part 3 Joseph, little side tangent here. Seeing part 2, part 3 Joseph is really funny to me. And the fact that we have 2 different versions of him, we have the manga's part 2, part 3 Joseph, and we have the anime's part 2, part 3 Joseph. It is very funny. And they didn't even have the old Joseph voice actor on at that point.
Well, it's like how we have like part 5, part 3, Jotaro and everything.
Yeah, what's our total Jotaro count? I believe we have part 3 Jotaro, and then we have part 4 Jotaro, and then part 5 we have both part 5 Jotaro and part 5 part 3 Jotaro. And then in part 6, we have part 6, part 3 Jotaro, and also part 6, part 4 Jotaro, because the locket he's wearing his white outfit.
Yes, so, you're right.
We have part 6, part
I actually
4
think
Jotaro,
it might be part 5.
And then we have just part 6 Jotaro. And then we have duplicate alternate reality Jotaro as well. And in the anime, we have that, like, fake-out Jotaro from JoJolion's flashback. And then we get to alternate universe Jotaro, which is also split into 2 people.
Alright,
Araki has
back
a bit of
to
an
the
obsession.
actual thing we were trying to talk about.
Instead
of the many millions of Jotaros.
Ah, yes, Milagro Man. Oh, money.
Milagro Man.
Funny. Anything else I have to say? Oh, yeah, this arc really shows that, Nut King Call really has a lot of potential to it. And, could have been a really good main character stand, but I do think Soft and Wet ended up being better, so I'm glad he didn't do that. Anyways, moving on to Caato's introduction back to the Higashikatas. We see a glimpse at her very introduction. We see a glimpse of space trucking. When she has the playing cards or whatever. And she like pulls a phone out of them or whatever. At the very beginning, one of the like prison guards says that Caato was like a really good model prisoner or whatever. Do you think that's like true, or was she like using her stand to like sneakily like do like bad things or whatever?
No, I think she was probably a model prisoner. I don't really think that there is any reason.
That's true, because like character-wise, he wanted to like atone or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
So that does make sense. Yeah. So she's introduced, and she first calls Jobin because of course, and she just shows up in the house, and no one, like half of the family doesn't even know who she was because they haven't seen her since they were like babies. Which is that's a really fun detail. How much time do they say? Like 15 years prison time, I think, is the gap.
Yeah, it was 15 years because Joshu's supposed to be like 18.
Yeah, and he was like 3.
So it couldn't be 20 years. So yeah.
Yeah. It has to be at least.
All of them. Actually, no.
No, yeah, because Dai is 16, and they had said that she had just been born or whatever.
And then they have their clothing in the flashback. That's the exact same 15
Yes,
years
oh my,
apart.
it's so funny. Every single character in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is born with a certain set of clothes, and they have to keep that throughout their entire lifespans, even when they're children.
Maybe when they're in a different part, they're allowed different
That's true.
clothes.
They're allowed, but within the same part, they're not permitted to have different clothing. Except for Jonathan at the beginning, who changes outfits like literally every chapter. If you notice, he has like a different. But that's just because he didn't have a lot of characters at first. So, but now that in the new universe rules, everyone has their own outfit. Like the stupid. It's even like Caato has her freaking like full body onesie. It's hilarious. What else am I missing? Oh yeah, Joshu wants to molest his own mother. We can skip over that. That's not exactly necessary. But to be fair, he does get then hit with a chair, which is very humorous. Yeah. I think he gets justice. Very nice. And then Caato just kind of hangs out for the whole part and doesn't do anything until the very end.
Sunbathing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's literally There is such a huge gap in between.
It's
Caato
literally 50 chapters, I think.
Like
something ridiculous.
She shows up. She's then in the next chapter, where the scene you were talking about, where she's sunbathing and she calls Jobin and he's like, Josuke doesn't suspect anything or something like that. And then she is literally gone until the very final 3 chapters of the story, which is pretty crazy. To think about, because this is such a feels like it would be a more integral character or whatever. Oh no, she shows up next chapter, because we get the flashbacks with her and Jobin and how she got arrested or whatever, but that doesn't last too long. And it feels like that should be more important, but she's just not in the part a lot, which I mean is okay, but I think she should have been used more, especially since a big thing back when the part was first coming out is that in her initial introduction we never got her stand name, and so there's this huge mystery. It's like oh what's it gonna be, and it wasn't anything special. It's same thing. There were lots of theories about how she would have a different name. No, I don't think a single person thought her stand would be King Crimson. With the ability not being
no, there's one person out there.
Okay, that you are thinking of the wrong thing. Okay.
No, I know the other theories where it's Josuke having it, or an evolved version.
Tsurugi,
but I was just saying there was probably one person out there. That's right. People in the comments, go comment if you believe that King Crimson is actually even now, after the part's over. Do you think Caato has King Crimson? Go comment below. Only true JoJOverdrive fans know the truth about Caato. This will be important in part 9.
This will be integral. I will say, her stand being all card based is very cool. It also fits in because all of the family's names are card suit based. Tsurugi's what is it? Tsurugi's spades. Caato is hearts. Daya is I think diamonds. I'm stupid. Yeah, Daya is diamonds. And then who's clubs? I feel like I'm missing someone. Maybe it's K. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. But anyways, the whole family has their
Wasuke.
Wasuke. Yes. Oh, how can I forget the most integral Higashikata member? Yes.
Oh, and Haruno. That's who it was. That's who we were missing.
Famous.
How did we forget
Haruno
him?
Higashikata. Yes.
How did we forget about him?
We're such fools.
I mean, we're gonna have to bring him up later in the Ozone Baby arc. That's his
exactly.
most integral part when he shoots poor Tom.
Famous part of part 8.
You can put the panel up
I'll
here.
put the panel. See, look, it's right there. People seem to forget it online, but it's a pretty important part of the story.
It's all those speed readers of
those darn speed readers. Now there's gonna be way more speed readers now because part 9's coming out.
Yeah.
Or they'll just skip it. What is this
Or you
curse
can
of
watch all
JoJolion?
retrospectives and learn everything you need to know about.
That's true.
Part 8.
I know some of y'all haven't read it at all. I know some of y'all are just watching this to
And you
get a
can
summary.
keep watching this video.
I have no problem. I have a problem with this, but it's giving me the watch time. You fell for our little trap. We're taking advantage of all the part skippers. I would never part skip.
But all of you listening to this that aren't part skipping, you're better. You're
you
actually
are superior
better.
objectively. Like that's not a debate. That's not up for debate. And if you're up to this point in the video and feel attacked, part skippers, why are you still watching then? What are we at? What are we at? Like 20 minutes in? Yeah, you're if you're at this point in the video, you're sticking around for the whole ride. Okay. Anyways, not mentioning part skippers anymore. There was a big thing where people were thinking Caato is maybe going to be like the main villain of the part back when Toru was not.
I've seen that.
That made a lot of sense. She seemed to go against being in the Higashikatas or whatever, which was kind of the whole there's a dichotomy between Josuke and Caato, where Josuke is trying to become like the honorary member of the Higashikatas, and Caato is trying to like force her way back in, even though no one wants her there or whatever. So this kind of we got this interesting. That doesn't end up leading anything, by the way. That's just an interesting note to point out at this point in the story. But again, as is always, anytime we get flashbacks into JoJolion, it is peak, and anytime there's Jobin, it is peak. So we get Jobin flashbacks. Ooh, that's a lot of fun. We see how Jobin was cured of the rock disease, because we hadn't known up at this point. We'd seen flashbacks of Narusuke, like I believe it was his mom or whatever, took the rock disease off of him and it killed her or something. I believe that's how it goes. Something like that. And so we knew that, but we didn't know what happened to Jobin, because supposedly I think probably up to this point we would have assumed, because we'd never seen the mother or whatever.
Also, I just wanted to say the part you're talking about happens after Blue Lagoon, but I know why you're talking about it in terms of because it relates to
I'm talking about just in terms of overall, because
so yes, this is from the arc after, but it is more relevant instead of skipping around a million times.
Instead of skipping, I'm just going through like this is what happened to each of the characters or whatever. Jobin specifically, like, this is where we figure out that this is the first time we see really how they cure it or whatever, because we have to assume they'd be able to be cured, because if it affects the eldest son of each one and we see them alive, then we presume there's a way to fix it.
We actually see it earlier with Norsuke.
No, but this is the first time we this is like the time where it actually like happens in the flashback. It's like we see the what is it, the shrine or whatever. I think we just get like glimpses of it before. I don't think it actually shows like she takes the thing to the shrine, she buries the kid or whatever, and then it flip-flops the ground, the magic funny corpse ground or whatever, flips them, and it takes the disease off of them. And that she kills a small child, which, you know, some would consider to be immoral, and that's why she is arrested and considered not a good person.
Let's at JoJOverdrive, do not condone murdering children.
Yes, we would never, ever. Jobin, at this point in the story, you can kind of see how Jobin got his like ideologies or whatever. Like he got it from his mom, like mostly. Because that's how we kind of figure out like, oh, this is why Jobin's kind of a psychopath. It's because his mom is also a psychopath. So that makes sense.
But Jobin's cool though, so like
Jobin gets to be epic and cool. So Jobin can kill as many children as he wants and be completely in the right. That's a true fact. That's a JoJOverdrive. True. Verified by true JoJOverdrive Patriots as true. Anyways, I think that's all we have to talk about for Caato at this point in time. Next up, we have, initially, people don't remember this now, but back when Blue Hawaii first started, Blue Hawaii was pretty, like, hated people like despise Blue Hawaii because it took a long time. Which looking back now is like, oh, that's nothing compared to Wonder of You, but it's a moderately like longer arc than most. For people who complain it's just Josuke running away a lot, and that was the whole arc. People were like, this is bad. I never thought that. I always liked it.
I liked it too.
Had this kind of Evil Dead kind of vibe going on with the zombies or whatever. This arc is by far the most graphic of all of JoJolion, I'd have to say. Some Wonder of You stuff there's some heavy damage going on there, but this specific part is a lot of fun. And we get to see Dolomite's design, which is very, very bizarre, and he's just a chill dude who hangs out in the middle of a the middle of a lake and eats fried chicken. The one out of context part where Joben gets a bucket of fried chicken and just starts throwing it around everywhere, and then this dude emerges from
his backstory's messed up, man.
Yeah, bro, he gets like fried, man.
That's why he likes the fried chicken so much.
That's true. He can relate to the poor chicken, and that's why he consumes it. That makes sense. You are what you eat. That's what they always say. Yeah, exactly. I know. Okay, if I looked like that, I know I'd become like a hermit and live in like a pond.
Fried chicken theory.
My theory is that Dolomite was actually pulling the strings behind every single operation the entire time. He is he's the one that's connected to. So you know how Wonder of You is Toru's stand, but it's actually like looks like a separate person. Toru is actually Dolomite's second stand.
Yes.
And then he controls Wonder of You through see it all. You just have to. JoJolion is the best part of all time. If you really just you have to see and analyze what Araki was thinking, and then everything just starts to click together. But all jokes aside, jokes quote in quotes, wink wink, because it's clearly true. This is a fun little part. What do we learn from this part? I'm trying to think like what the point of this arc was. Now that I look back. Oh yeah, it was because Joben saw Damo get killed. He was spectating. He went spectator mode, and he saw Josuke clap Damo. And he was like, oh, I gotta actually do something about this. So he sends like an extra guy after him. And the characters up to this point in the story believe they were like done, basically. They had just assumed that like, oh, we got rid of the main guys, we're good, we're done, and then suddenly they're getting attacked by this time, and that's like the first time they're like, oh, there's more stuff we have to go do. So I kinda like how that's handled. In for example, like a similar shift happens in part 5, where they take out La Squadra or whatever, and then they a story like shift happens where they have to then take out the boss or whatever. Again, connecting JoJolion to part 5 in a surprising number of ways is that the overall arc basically matches up Golden Wind's setup, and this is like a weird way of putting like I guess the transition arc in Golden Wind is just the little in between King Crimson fight, but in this it's with a dude with no limbs, so about the same level of threat.
Yeah.
And Yasuho gets the dub in this one. Josuke actually like fails like the fight basically.
He has to give himself up basically.
Yeah.
At one part.
Josuke at the very end turns into a zombie or whatever. And there's a lot of cool things in this whole section. We have like the fly that's a zombie or whatever. We have the baby that gets turned into a zombie and starts like pushing itself through the door. We have that one famous panel where Soft and Wet grabs a shovel and uses it as a melee weapon.
See, why isn't that in the moveset in All-Star Battle R, man?
There are plenty of things to take from JoJolion to make a completely new moveset for Josuke, but we can't get what we want, and we can't be happy. We have to get Stroheim. I love Stroheim, but I want Gappy more. New Gappy, not old Gappy. Also fix the damn orange. Please, thank you. We got a comment or whatever saying that the orange color scheme actually comes from one of Araki's like official colorings or whatever.
It does. It's
So,
one of the first magazine covers. I was just saying,
does make sense,
I understand why they used it for the original All-Star Battle, but they should have fixed it in All-Star Battle R to make it white.
Yeah,
Because they updated literally every color palette for parts 1 through 6. So.
Yeah, but they couldn't bother changing the other one, which is...
All they would have had to do is switch a color palette that is already in the game as the default one. They wouldn't have even had to make a new one.
Yeah. Last thing that I wanted to talk about, at least in Blue Hawaii, was we get a Jobin main villain moment, which was a main villain moment till he wasn't, where he like sneaks up behind Yasuo or whatever and like knocks her out or whatever. It's like this cool moment where like all of a sudden her skin's like bubbling or whatever, and it's like, oh my god, Jobin's here. He's so scary and terrifying as the villain of the series. Which again didn't lead to anything. So I remain sad, but do you have anything you wanted to mention about this section?
No, I think this is going to be an arc that more people are going to like when it's animated, I think.
Oh, yeah, seeing a lot of more action-heavy, like, instead of, like, physical action, translates much better to animation.
I think, again, also, this arc adds to the fatigue of long-range stands, again, where you're like... Oh, yeah, I like this a lot more than, Dubiwa. It's just it just feels like there's so many of them.
I think I've said this before, but I don't think I've said it on this retrospective. JoJolion's like stand types being majorly switched to long distance and like you have to kill the user makes me think that if Araki were to go back and change stand rules, he would have made it so that stands could not be harmed, period. I think that would have just been a major rule, because at this point in JoJolion, harming stands is just not even like an option for 90% of them. You don't. Do you
mean in only the new universe he would change the rules, or do you think if he had the retrospective idea even in part 3?
Even in part 3, if he had the knowledge, he would have made it so that only hitting the main guy would have done it. There would have been some weird things with that.
And we wouldn't have all the cool stuff in Made in Heaven where Fuchi takes out all the stands with Kiss and Stone Free.
Yeah, but he could have just attacked the users and it would have done the same thing. Cool. No, I get what you're saying. I just think in terms of a power system.
Yeah, I get it.
In terms of the power system, it has not mattered in ages. Like, attack. They don't have to attack fun. They don't have to attack Autumn Leaves or Milagro Man. They don't have to attack Dubiwa. They don't attack Blue Hawaii. They don't attack. There's so many. Vitamin C. You don't have to go after. Freaking the Aphex twin stands, the shot keys, both you don't attack. They're just one's part of this hand and the other's a Saga Ball. Every single one I can think, you don't attack. I am a rock. There has never been a time where the stand itself actually is susceptible to damage. It is always just based around overcoming the ability and getting your win condition in order to beat the enemy. Which, overall, I wouldn't want this to be a thing just because stands are so, cool. But, having your stand be summoned out is just mostly unnecessary for 90% of abilities nowadays. You don't have to actually have the physical form. We talked about this in part 2, but Love Deluxe is just there for style. It doesn't actually need to be summoned or everything to trigger the ability. But that's more in terms of how stands are used as a power system narratively rather than stylistically. Stylistically, it's absolutely fantastic. I love the designs are really, really good in JoJolion. Do you like stand designs visually in part 7 or part 8 more?
Part 8 because there's a lot more of them.
Yeah, I'd say part 7 probably has my favorite stand design visually, which is Tusk Act 4. It's probably my favorite. Visually.
Really?
Yeah, I love.
Are you
Tusk Act 4.
serious?
Yeah, I love Tusk Act 4. It's like peak.
Wow.
I love it's
Okay.
He's so cool. I thought I said that before. I guess I hadn't. Never mind.
No, I don't. Because I totally disagree with that.
It would
Tusk
be-
Act 4 is one of my least favorite main characters.
What?
Like,
You
look-wise.
have to leave. You have to get. We're disbanding JoJo.
I like that he
Overdrive. That's
tried.
it.
I like that he tried something new with it,
And
and I like
it's
Tusk Act 4's
great.
abilities and stuff. But he looks like window shades, curtains.
Yeah,
He just looks like a
it's
massive
cool.
curtain.
Yeah.
Wow, walking curtain.
Yeah, it's very threatening. My favorite stand designs visually are probably Tusk Act 4, The World, Made in Heaven, Killer Queen, and King Crimson. That's my list. That's my list off the top of my
I
head.
gotta go like Made in Heaven for sure. Star Platinum I think looks great when it's the later art style, like part 6.
Yeah.
The World's always a classic. Wonder of You. Got to put that in there. Wonder of You. And then like honestly, probably Sticky Fingers I like a lot too.
Sticky Fingers is really good. Yeah, Sticky Fingers. I think overall, I know we've been talking about this for a while, but I'm gonna keep going. Part 5 has the best stand visual design. Out of all of them.
Easily.
Part 5, they're all the best. I like every single one of them.
And I've said this on when we've talked separately from this, but part 5 has like my favorite music references all the way top to bottom.
I
part
think
5 is
for
like,
me,
my
it's
favorite.
part 6 is the best music reference selection. We have Made in Heaven, Sea Moon. We have Jailhouse Lock is a good song. What else am I missing? Diver Down's a good album. There's just the Bohemian Rhapsody. There's a ton of ones I love in part 6. Foo Fighters, yeah, that too. There's a lot.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with Blue Hawaii and everything. I think we can go to meeting Rai and
Like
Urban
the very
Gorilla.
last thing I just like to say, like right here, is literally just Dolomite doesn't die in this part, which he's like the only rock human who does not die in this part, which means he technically could appear in part 9. That's all I'd like to
He's
say.
retired.
That's it. Okay, anyways, next is Rai's introduction, right? Like, we start...
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Rai, who is... essentially becomes, like, a new main cast member. He's so cool. I love him so much, and he's funny, Snoop Dogg man. And he's just a really cool guy. In his first appearance, you're not sure what to think of him, because he comes off as like he's very cruel towards Yasuho at the very beginning, which of course is on purpose and makes sense for his character. But I think it's pretty fun how straight from the bat, Rocky tries to make this guy seem very different compared to most other Joe Bros, essentially.
Yeah. And one thing, because a lot of people criticize Rocky for having like same face syndrome, which is true for parts of it, but Rai specifically looks different from like basically any other character.
Yeah, Rai has a very different look to him that's very identifiable, even without like the outfit or anything like that, which I think is very cool. But like, for example, what I was talking about was for a lot of other parts, Joe Bros are either introduced immediately as good guys or bad guys. That's how it works. In part 3, it's like, Avdol is good guy. He's a good guy. I mean, they have a little tussle, but it's not like it's just he's trying to get him to leave the prison.
Mhm.
And then Polnareff, he's evil. We gotta beat him, and now he's on our side. And Okuyasu is evil. Now we gotta beat him, and now he's on our side. Or Rohan's evil. We gotta beat him, and now he's on our side. But Rohan's a bit better. Rohan fits. Out of every character, I'd say Mamezuku probably fits the Rohan role closest. There's not exactly a. He's not exactly like.
Also, to mention this is that I find it interesting that Araki didn't try and introduce alternate universe Rohan and just do the spin-off parts in the new universe now. So we technically still have content coming out from the original universe, which is kind of cool.
Which is crazy to me how we have like parts that take place in 2020 in the original universe, like
With
ages
COVID
after Stone Ocean.
in it
with
too,
COVID in
and
it.
stuff.
COVID is canon to the original universe.
Yeah.
Maybe Poochie was right. Maybe if we had seen COVID come up ahead, we could have better prepared ourselves mentally. Maybe Made in Heaven, the Heaven Plan was the right way to go all along. But if Mamezuku is the closest we have to Rohan, I'd say it's not like the rest of them. There's pretty obvious equivalence or whatever, but Rai is not equal to anyone. Rai's his own character. He does his own stuff. But if I had to choose the closest role, I'd say he would be a Rohan type character because we need his help or whatever because he needs to see which branch the new Lokakuka is. But he's just he doesn't really care about Josuke or Yasuho or either of them at all. He's like, if you guys die, that's not, as long as I stay alive, it's fine. Which it's very different to have this like neutral party essentially, to where he's not actively trying to kill them, but he's also like not exactly kind to them or whatever. He's not exactly caring about their livelihood. Which is shown especially at that one part where Rai pushes Yasuo off the what's it called, the lift or whatever. He uses Yasuo as bait or whatever against Urban Gorilla, which is the enemy stand user for this part, which introduces the concept of the evil doctors, the rock doctors, which is a hilarious concept that we just have this group of rock human doctors who are all just want to kill people. They're just evil doctors. It's funny seeing poor Tom as just like a doctor, the little baby man as like an official certified doctor of this facility, and overall having every single one of these enemies be doctors is an interesting idea. I don't know what commentary Araki's having about doctors or something. But actually, hold on, now that I think about it, I swear there was one thing where he said like I think he's scared of dentists or something or something like that. Or he's like uncomfortable around them, or it was either doctors or dentists. He did like a chapter note or whatever. He was like, I don't feel comfortable when I go to the doctors or whatever. So I wonder if that's if he took that and he projected it into making this villain group of doctors.
Maybe. Maybe a lot of anxiety about going to the doctor.
And he made it so that doctors commit calamities around the country. So the first encounter, as I was talking about, is Urban Gorilla. Fun name for a guy. I don't remember what he has like an actual name or whatever. Urban Gorilla is just like a nickname or whatever. But he has his rock pet, do re mi fa sol la ti do, or just la ti do as it's often shortened to, which starts the pattern of these funky little evil rock dudes having really weird names. And this first one is just a one that digs underground, which, again, having another Part 5 connection, these Urban Gorilla and Latido are essentially just the Secco and Chocolata of Part 8. They're both, they're doctors, they have a stand that, like,
and also the design of Urban Gorilla, like, kind of definitely seems similar to
it's a very Secco design, even though he's like the Chocolato equivalent. It's like they combined it into one character to make one fight, and then added Secco's ability onto the rock animal. But the circumstances of the fight are very different, because in Part 5, the team is trying to get to Chocolata, like go up, but in this fight, Josuke and the gang are the ones attempting to go like up on the lift, and Urban Gorilla is the one chasing after them. It's kind of like a reverse role of that part 5 encounter, which heavily changes up what the deal is. And it's a Brainstorm is a pretty tough ability. It's literally just, if it touches you, it starts to eat your cells or whatever. And Mamezuku ends up losing 4 fingers on his left. I think it is in his left hand.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's like a permanent change or whatever. He even says he can't grow back, but like you forget about it because it's a very, very small detail. It's just like you and especially since his ability has to deal with morphing his own body. You rarely even notice it, but he does. In fact, Araki keeps it consistent. He doesn't have he's missing 4 fingers on his left hand throughout the entire rest of the part, because of Josuke. What else happens in this part? Oh yeah, having Mamezuku live up on like a lift is a very fun idea, and it's also a callback to that one guy in part 4, the Superfly guy, who instead of an electrical tower here we have this lift thing that he lives on, and JoJolion has so far had 2 like weird instances of going into great detail about food. First it was the melon parfait, and now we have, I don't remember what it is. I think it's is it a shortcake or something? There's something with strawberries. That's all I remember. And I believe it's Josuke starts crying based on how good the food is. I believe that's the.
There's also the infamous moment with the Josuke leg panel.
Yes, in one panel, Josuke has a oversized knee. The perspective of the knee is off, and it makes it look like one of his knees is humongous compared to the rest of his body. Which is very funny, but it's not like, it's not. It's interesting to see like mistakes like that aren't just like, oh wow, is this a plot hole? It's just like, oh, it's a funny. He has a big knee. That's kind of funny.
What did it mean? It was actually for that one panel, Josuke was replaced with the exact clone of him with a bigger knee.
Yes. What did he mean by this?
We need to find big knee Josuke in part 9.
What is it? Is it the thing where is it the Star Wars thing where?
Yeah, Luke.
Big Luke. It's a thing.
We'll leave a link to this in the description. The website for Big Luke.
Big Luke. It's a big conspiracy on Star Wars where there's actually not one singular Luke, but there's actually a Luke and a big Luke, which is truly fascinating. So go read up on that in the description. Relating back to this section, I remember back when I was reading through JoJolion, this was the point where it started going to black and white again. It was all colored up to this point, but once it hit Mamezuku.
When you read it.
When I read it, yeah, this is personally when I read it. It was all the way colored. I'd read it first all the way colored, and then the color hadn't caught up yet. So it was up to here. So this is when it first started going to black and white, which is a pretty jarring change at first. Which I prefer the black and white. So I'm biased towards that, but I don't think when it finally got colored, I don't think it ever looked as good as it did in black and white. I don't think pretty much a lot of it doesn't look as good in colored, I think. But that's just a matter of personal taste. So if you like the colored versions, good on you. I hope you enjoy your colored version. But yeah, I remember very much enjoying this section when I first read it. I think my opinion of it has gotten slightly worse in retrospective the entire thing, where this arc mostly is meant to facilitate meeting Mamezuku, and there just happens to be a fight slapped on it that doesn't impact the plot too much. It's just, oh, there's a little fight, and then they blow him up, which is a good moment, good ending moment, but overall it doesn't really connect to much. I guess if I had to say anything, it's that Urban Gorilla starts like monologuing on about the rock human's motivations, so we're finally getting like pretty much the only real time where we actually get to understand the scope of the Rock Humans goals, where they're like, we're gonna make it a bad world for humans, and Rock Humans are gonna rise up to the top, but we need the fruit because we'll gain power through that. And that's pretty much all we get. I think Dr. Wu kind of talks about it a bit more, but not too much more. Anyways, do you have anything else you want to say about this part?
I like how they integrate Ozone Baby earlier into it instead of just being like arc to arc, you know? How Ozone Baby is already shows up beforehand and they kind of like establish him during this arc.
Yeah. How they link them up. Yeah, that is fun. It's always nice to see. Araki overall has gotten much better at linking his story arcs together as compared to part 3, when it really did just feel like on a fight-to-fight basis, just unrelated fights. There's a real through line now. Ever since part 4, it was really just part 3 that had the stand user of the week problem. It's still the exact same format, but he does a lot better.
No, part 3 had that issue.
That's what I'm saying. Part 3, it was a very glaring problem. It's still the same, like, there's a fight, and then we meet another guy, and there's a fight. There's very rarely an instance where there's 2 of them, and even when it's 2 of them, like shot key, it's not even that good. But it doesn't feel like they're separate. In part 3, it felt like each encounter was a separate, distinct encounter, unrelated to each other. But ever since part 4, it really feels like fights lead into other fights, lead into other fights. Really feels like there's a meaning behind them, which shows his growth as a writer, which very, very good. Which should hopefully only gets even better once part 9 comes along.
So I guess now we'll move on to Lego White House, the arc.
Yes, that is such a weird visual. Is just the real life specific set Lego White House.
You just went into like a Target in Japan, and it was like, oh my god, that White House Lego set
is so good. That is so cool.
Inspiration.
You're right. I never even considered, like, why did he pick that specifically? He could have picked.
It has no relevance. It's in Japan. Why was it the White House? He could have picked like
so weird.
Something else.
What's the origin behind that? I need to know why he specifically picked that. There could have also just been any other children's toy. Period. It could have been a yo-yo. It could have. But why the specific Lego set of that specific White House? Very, very strange. Oh, that's right. Right before Ozone Baby happens, Yasuho gives a little flashback or whatever about her hair clip, the little hair clip rock animal she gets or whatever, that like shows her like illusions of her dad or whatever, and makes her try and kill herself at the very end. Which, yes, going into the theme of Yasuho only getting to suffer throughout the entire part of JoJolion. Thought that was important to bring up. That's a good little character moment for Yasuho. But no, it's extremely short. It's like a 1-chapter thing, I believe. So there's not much to go into that. But then Ozone Baby starts, and Ozone Baby is in like definitely top 3 JoJolion arcs for me. I'd say definitely top 3.
Yeah, it's really good.
Top 3 overall would for JoJolion would be. There's no specific order I'm saying this in. I don't really have too much of a preference. Would be Everyday Summer Vacation, Vitamin C, and then Ozone Baby. Those are my 3 favorites. And number 4 would probably be. I won't even be able to decide at that point. There's so many good parts.
Wonder of You Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3.
Yeah, I have a hard time saying Wonder of You is my favorite because some parts of Wonder of You are my favorite. Some parts aren't my favorite. It's so long that it feels like I I can't give it that high of a rank because of the parts I don't like, but I want to give it that high of a rank because of the parts I do. It's just so long, it's hard to compare it to the other arcs. But Ozone Baby just starts out on every single person in the Higashikata family is under the attack of this like air pressure thing, which again another stand where it affects a long distance and going after the stand itself doesn't matter. So my theory remains true. And poor Tom himself. Poor Tom is one of the weirdest designs.
Bling Bling Baby?
No, I do not mean Bling
Bling
Baby.
Bling Baby is not for Tom.
Well, if you want to believe that, there's technically nothing against that, but I don't understand what the what the connection there would be besides they both look like babies. Bling Bling Baby was actually Tsurugi the whole time, not clickbait. No, but poor Tom is definitely one of the weirdest character designs of the entirety of the series. It is baby that's also an old dude that has weird everything. No, they're not a single part of his character design could be described as normal. He smokes a lot. And
honestly think he was inspired by that story. Do you remember in like the early 2010s? Where's that story of like the like little kid in remote village, like in a remote village that would like smoke a ton? I remember that. And I think he might have seen that thing too. I clearly remember that.
I have vague memories of this, but most
there were like these viral stories of like 5-year-olds like smoking a bunch of packs a day.
Oh, that's just called like the real life early 1900s. that's what that's
but
called.
I mean specifically, this was like around when he was making this, so I could have seen that as inspiration.
Oh, weird. And he also gets a lot of chicks. That's his other character trait, which interesting choice, Araki, to make the character that looks like a child get women. Interesting choice, but it is very funny.
Alternate universe forever.
No, alternate universe Alessi. Yeah, exactly. I can't believe it. That's why he looks like that. He got he got. Oh my god, what's his? What is Alessi's stand name? Oh my god.
I totally forget Alessi's stand.
Is it Seth? Is that it? Seth or whatever? Whatever. It doesn't matter too much to me. The baby stand.
Baby stand.
Baby stando, like funny Kakyoin says. Don't know what Araki's obsession is with babies, but I'll keep going.
This is why
keep
baby
at it.
stand is on my my card.
Your JoJo Part 9 bingo card. Yeah, that's almost a given at this point. I think what I like most about the Ozone Baby arc is that there's so many like moving parts to it. There's like the dual like sides of Jomid and Tsurugi, and then there's Mamezuku and Josuke. Like they're having basically their own separate encounters with Ozone Baby at the exact same time, and they don't even like. And then they what is it? Jobin lights the orchard on fire as like a last ditch resort or whatever, using Speed King, because Speed King is just so cool and epic. Speed King in this arc, I think, really gets a chance to shine. Speed King uses his ability to make like oxygen or whatever. I remember that. Like he gets like chemicals from the garage and he uses the heat of Speed King to like make them able to breathe oxygen, and then he uses Speed King to start the car and everything. There's a lot of instances where Speed King really gets to like do a lot, which the most significant thing is he lights the whole orchard on fire, which makes it so that poor Tom can't just sit comfortably like 80 miles away.
I definitely thought in this arc that they were gonna kill the dog. I was like, Araki.
Oh yeah, when I first read it, because there's this one panel where Owasuke is just crushing. It's just his eyeball is popping out of his socket. And then Jobin tells Tsurugi, it's like, nah, it's fine. He's good. He's all chill. He's probably a rock right now. We're fine. Don't worry about it. And at first I thought he was just trying to be like like soften the blow to Tsurugi of the dog being mutilated. But no, Joven was right. Josuke is fine by the end. Killing dogs as a whole is kind of like not a thing anymore in JoJo, for as big of a meme as it is. By the end of it, it's practically non-existent. The moment, there's a lot of such like there's so many cool moments in the Ozone Baby fight that really hit the hardest when you're just reading it. Like, it's really hard to describe, specifically with manga, like how when things are like cool, sometimes they just are, like the way things are like paneled out, the timing of things happening. There's a lot of things that are super hard to describe over me just saying it. It's best those who have read it, which is hopefully all of you. Those who have read it, you know what I'm talking about. It's there's a lot of cool moments. There's like the part when Josuke puts himself in like a huge bubble or whatever, him and Mamezuku in like huge bubbles or whatever, and they go walking out or whatever, and that's just a cool visual moment. Interesting application of Soft and Wet's ability. It does bring up the question, if Soft and Wet's bubbles are just lines spinning really, really fast, how does that work? Never mind, whatever. I'm gonna try not think about it too much. It's magic spin. It doesn't mean anything. It means whatever he wants it to mean. I shouldn't be thinking too hard about that. One of the way they like end up beating poor Tom or whatever is they poison him or whatever. Josuke poisons him with poison berries and his bubbles, and they end up just outlasting him until he gets shot. But there's that really cool moment where Josuke has put like a bubble, and inside the bubble he's put like a bunch of layers upon layers of bubbles, and because the pressure keeps on breaking the bubbles, but if he puts like a ton of them in one, they won't like break or whatever. And there's just this bubble following after poor Tom, and poor Tom's freaking out because he doesn't know what's in the bubble. And it turned out the whole time there was nothing in the bubble. They were playing him the whole time, and it goes so hard.
What do you think about this being the first appearance of the best villain of all of JoJo, Toru?
Oh yes, the Toru and Dr. Wu are in the truck or in the ambulance or whatever, and I don't think we ever get a confirmation which. I think Dr. Wu shoots him, but Toru's at least in the truck. We know that for sure because there's two silhouettes there.
What do you mean Haruno shoots him?
I'm sorry. I'll put the panel on screen of Haruno shooting poor Tom. Put it on screen. It's him. He did it the whole time. That was the true ending. Only. If you've read JoJolion 5 times, you see you're like a
secret track in an album.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see Haruno appear, and then you'll get the true JoJolion story.
If you go in the bathroom, spin around 3 times, turn off the lights, and say Haruno, 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 he will appear in the mirror and talk to you.
If you collect all the power stars and then run around the fountain 2,000 times, you unlock Luigi and get the true ending. Yeah. And you get to, and Joven's also the final villain.
Haruno is real too.
No, it's real. Yes. Anyways, putting Haruno aside, this is the best appearance of Toru because you can't see him. That's the truth to it.
No yellow pants.
No yellow pants.
How do you feel about Rai's fake out the spaghetti?
Yes, he turns into a plate of literally spaghetti and 2 eyeballs and like some teeth. And you think he's for sure dead at that point. He's like crushed into nothing. Like there's no way. Even the characters are reacting like, oh my god, he's so dead. And then Josuke just like casually walks over and takes one look at him and he's like, oh, thank god you're alive. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What does it take to kill this guy? Turns out,
well, thankfully, Rai totally survives the rest of the part. So
yes,
nothing to worry about there.
He's a very tough individual who can take a lot of damage. Except apparently for small little bubbles, though that's his weakness. So at this point, you think that Mamezuku is just like invincible at this point, because if he gets crushed into spaghetti and he's alive, there's no way he could possibly.
I mean, later it's supposed to demonstrate Calamity being able to do magnitude of damage like higher than what it actually is.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, I also do get it. JoJolion did this all the time with Stone.
Yeah.
She would unravel herself into. I think it was handled there better though. I don't think
Not
this moment
to
is
that
too
extent
bad,
though.
She turns herself pretty much entirely into string at certain points. She does all the time. She does that to escape Underworld. She turns entirely into string and hides inside Hermes.
Right.
So she's done that before. Yeah, it's not unprecedented. And this is the closest ability we've ever gotten to a Stone-free like ability ever since.
Oh, and Oh Lonesome Me.
Oh yeah, Oh Lonesome Me. But that was a much like if we're going on a scale from freaking powerful to like you can't unravel yourself that much or whatever, it would be Oh Lonesome Me's at the bottom, then probably Stone Free would be at the top because she can do whatever she wants with that. She does the Mobius strips and everything. But after poor Tom gets brutally shot and murdered, which feels kind of like unnecessary, but
kind of overkill.
why did they shoot him again? Do we ever get a just guys?
I think it's just
no witnesses.
I think it's so no witnesses. Yeah.
Okay. That's.
Also,
fair.
it's because he had the branch. It's because he had the branch. So they wanted to get the branch for just right then and there. They didn't want poor Tom to like sell it or anything.
Oh, I guess. I mean, they were both on the same side, so it would just be weird. I guess they just. I'll take it as he was already dead, basically, and they didn't want him to try and betray them at the last second. So it's just a precaution. That makes sense. One of my favorite parts, probably my favorite section, is the fake out at the end, where you think that the doctors now have the branch or whatever at the very end, but it turns out that the Goat, Jobin, and Tsurugi team duo had actually used Paper Moon King to like make an illusion to switch the branches out, and they had the branch the whole time, which is crazy. It's a peak JoJo moment right there. Love that part. Which would have been a very cool main villain moment, which I will say for every single time Jobin does anything until the very, very end. But that's all the comments I have to say about Ozone Baby. Overall, very, very, very good. The dog lives, so that automatically makes it good. Moving on then. The final section we'll be discussing in this part of the retrospective is the Dr. Wu portion of the story, which is our first major introduction to Mitsuba, which this late, for how seemingly important of a character she is, being Jobin's wife, being introduced this late into a story is actually pretty crazy. We saw her one time in like an early design at the very beginning, but now she's actually here. So
relevant.
And her first introduction is her closing the elevator door on an old lady. Like she sees an old person coming and she immediately closes the door and she's like, I'm not waiting for you. But very, very, very good characterization. Also making me kind of figure out that literally every single Higashikata member is a psychopath, which is the through line. Because who's the least sociopath? Probably
Norisuke.
That's true. Yeah, probably Norisuke.
Iwasuke.
I don't know.
Haruno.
Yes. So this arc starts off as just Mitsuba's at the hospital or whatever to get quote unquote cosmetic surgery, which is actually just the low kakaka that they're selling for $8 bajillion, which makes you forget just how obscenely rich the Higashikata family is. They have so much money. The upper class. The Higashikatas are the true villains because they're the capitalists or whatever. That's the real story of JoJolion. This is a story about breaking capitalism.
Yep.
What's our opinions on the doctor himself, Wu Tomoki?
I think he has a pretty good design. I don't know. I think the arcs is pretty good. I like Ozone Baby more. So yeah.
I think out of the 4 doctor fights that we get, this is the weakest one, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. There's really good moments. I also find it majorly impressive how obscenely hard it must have been to draw all those little particles for every single.
Okay. Also,
thing.
this is like the darkest JoJo gets. Period. I think.
Yeah, we're
Turns
like
the baby into stone.
he freaking aborts the baby by exchanging it with her legs or whatever. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy, and then
I was like, a Rocky, chill, bro.
and then freaking Wu starts like going into their bodies or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
It's again going along with the thing that Araki is uncomfortable around doctors. You can kind of really see it here, where Wu's whole thing is he's very invasive or whatever, but like in the literal most sense. It's also
I think this really hammers home the like body horror aspect of equivalent exchange.
yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. It's also the introduction of like the extent to which equivalent exchange will like go to or whatever, because we get the Dr. Wu has made like a video or whatever for buyers explaining the specifics of how Lokaku works, which is basically for the audience. It's for us. It's for the readers to get more details on how it functions and everything. Dr. Wu is a pretty fun character. He has that whole thing where he's like, "I've never failed before once." Giving the minor villains like catchphrases or stuff has always been a fun thing for me. But honestly, this is probably the least I have to talk about for any of them. The only thing I'd like to talk about more is Awaking 3 Leaves, Mitsuba's stand.
Yep. The most obscure reference in the franchise.
Probably by far. We aren't even 100% sure that the reference is accurate, but it's the closest.
I don't even believe the one that we think it is accurate.
I believe it is. I don't see what else it could be.
I don't even know. I think it's just a reference to the clubs, honestly. It seems really weird and like almost just. I know he listens to obscure music, but that is literally like. Well, isn't it in like the hundreds of views or the very low thousands at least?
It is.
And it's like all instrumental. I don't know.
The least. Okay, here's where things get like weird. For example, Dragon's Dream is not like a. If I remember correctly, Dragon's Dream is like a album art collection or something. It's so weird. Hold on, I have the Wikipedia up right here. This will quick. Dragon's Dream. Come on, pop up for me. Dragon's Dream. Show the reference, please. Wikipedia. Namesake. What is this? If I click a link, it's like an art collection.
Yeah, it's
not
random.
It's not even Dragon's Dream isn't even really like a music reference. I feel like that doesn't get talked about a lot, but
still think Awakening 3 Leaves is the most obscure.
Yeah. Ability-wise, it is very cool. It's like the 3 directions and it points and it shoots things. There's a lot of fun moments to be had with that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Waking 3 Leaves falls into the victim of the there's not a lot of time left in the part effect, where there's not a lot of time left in the part, and so she doesn't get to use it very much.
Part 9,
which will definitely just be a direct Part 8 sequel and have every single same character and finish up all the excess character moments I wanted to have and revive Jobin. But no.
Jobin's gonna be the main villain of Part 9, but he's gonna come in like Toro at the end, so no one's happy. Okay, Jobin comes back in Part 9 and gets killed immediately. That would be a funny gag, like he walks out and gets hit by a bus.
Bro, I swear, if at any point in time there is even like an Easter egg of like a Toru-like character in the background of Part 9, I am leaving. I am packing up my stuff in a cartoonish bag. And I'm walking out of my house, and I'm never being seen again by any person. What else am I thinking of? Another heavily Yasuho centric arc. Always fun to see. And something I like about the ending of this fight, specifically, is that Josuke's soft and wet just directly counters this ability, Dr. Rue's whole ability.
Yeah.
Is because he just can put it inside the bubbles. So once he shows up, it's done. There's literally nothing you can do. It is a direct, there is 100% counter, and it's kind of crazy how fast it kind of wraps up. But very.
I like that. I am glad Araki did end it with a good ending and have the kid survive. Yeah. And the kid will most likely. I think the kid will return. I think that'd be fun.
It makes sense. Or
I just think that the Higashikatas as a whole will show up for an arc. There will be an arc relating to them.
I think in part 9 having an arc related to anything in the like finishing up the Higashikatas, even if it's just like a flashback, like, oh, here's what happened directly after the end of JoJolion. This kid.
I totally think just a flashback, something. Yeah.
A nice simple wrap up. I don't. If it's not a direct sequel to Part 8, I don't need too much. I just need a tiny bit more.
You just need Joshu as the leader of the family.
Yes, Joshu taking
with a robot arm.
Yeah. We
punished Joshu.
Punished bro.
he has like an iPad.
Yeah. And his hair is like really cool now or whatever. Like he gets a completely different haircut.
It was the same thing, just longer.
It's like the bangs at front cover like his face or whatever.
Yeah.
Completely. Ew. You just thought of the only haircut that's actually worse than his actual haircut. Yeah, congratulations. That's disgusting. But after this arc, there's only one doctor left in this team. The head doctor, the legendary foe. But who is this guy? What are we gonna do about him? We'll have to find out next time on the final section of the JoJolion Retrospective, which will be out soonish, and will probably be the longest video out of any of these.
Yeah,
we'll see. We have
we'll see.
The Wonder of You discussion for true JoJolion, true JoJoVerdrive patriots. You know that there's a lot to talk about with Wonder of You and our opinions. So we'll be covering chapters 83 to the finale next time. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video, because you know how YouTube likes to not show videos if you aren't, like, fully subscribed with the notification bell and everything. And leave a like so we can tell that you guys don't hate us, please. And comment down below some of your favorite JoJolion moments from this section of the story, or not. I don't care.
And if you made it this far in the video, comment your favorite Haruno Higashikata moment.
Yes, comment how much you love Haruno, the best JoJolion character of all time. And if you don't remember Haruno, give JoJolion a quick reread for me. You'll see him there. He's pretty prominent. But yeah, anyways, this is JoJoverdrive signing off. Shake it like it's heat. Overdrive. Coming through now. Coming through now. Coming through. Watch where you're going. Overdrive. Let the downside up to top notch. Whatever haters do. Hot top.